Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome back to the YouTube channel, man. Today we're gonna be reviewing this bad boy right here, "Growing the Service Business with Webflow" by Edgar Allan and Webflow themselves. Man, look, tons of value in here, tons of great content in here. It took me a minute to get through all of this content, and now I'm ready to give y'all a review. I took some notes here in front of me, and so there's a couple of different things I do want to talk about regarding the book. Number one is why you should pick up this book. Number two is who I think the book is for. Lastly, I want to talk about a couple of my favorite quotes, tips, little bits and pieces that stood out to me. Like, I don't want to give away too much now because I want y'all to be encouraged to either go purchase the book or not. Also, I'm not being sponsored. They didn't DM me. They didn't say, hey, yo, make a video, make a newsletter post about it. No, my content isn't even big enough for all of you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here to give y'all a genuine review about it, share my thoughts, and go from there. So that's what we're going to do today. Let's jump into why I think you should grab this book. First of all, the language and communication style in here, top tier, man, top tier. The reason why is that it's very conversational. It's a really warm and welcoming approach to business. That's something that you don't see too often, especially around business books, because the business books that I've read in the past, it did feel like they were made for somebody with a much larger operation. There's some good pieces here and there, but the language just felt like I needed to be in the game for 10 plus years in order to then take the content and do something with it. This feels like a beginner can pick this up and then from A to Z have a blueprint on what exactly to do. Also, too, the interviews in the book help kind of tie the lessons together. It kind of seems as though they teach you the lessons, and then the people that they interview confirm that the lessons that they're teaching actually work. I think is dope. So they interview freelancers, they interview agency owners. So lots of different perspectives on what's going on inside this book regarding business building, how they manage clientele, how they grow their businesses, how they scale their businesses, how they approach pricing, stuff like that. You don't get to that level of understanding without having experienced it all. That's another great thing about this book too. There's a lot of small things in this book that just feels like, why'd y'all put that in here? Did y'all really have to put, like, they talk about change orders in this book. Did y'all really need to put that in here? So it's just one of those things where it's just so small where y'all would have to have known and been through it and been through some real pain. That's what that's what that's what this book is. It's just pain. It's pain translated into a book, man. I really like the fact that it's a Webflow specific book. That's interesting to me because you can probably pick up a different agency related book, a business building book, and they're going to teach you some lessons that are similar. But don't get me wrong, their Webflow specific content does help you connect the dots. And when I read books, I like to just read them and have a blueprint, have some actionable items that I can take away and apply to my business immediately, compared to having to read this book about scaling my business, this book about how properly pricing my business, this book about, you know what I'm saying? So compared to doing all that, it's all in one. Those are the reasons why, finally. So let's talk about who this book is for. Freelancers just getting started with Webflow, beginner freelancers specifically. I think there's a lot of content here for you guys because this book provides step-by-step guidance on everything from positioning to pricing to selling, also managing projects. So in the really early stages is really important to kind of get those foundational pieces set. So that way, when you go and take clientele, you're not running around just learning from your own pain and your own kind of mistakes. And I'll talk about a couple of those different tactics that stood out to me like that later. But just those little small things that a beginner wouldn't do or they would overlook. Another group I think would benefit from this book are freelancers that are building their business, looking to then evolve it into a full-fledged studio. Half of this book feels like it's geared towards freelancers. The other half feels like studio. So it's kind of this 50-50 split, but they both speak as though you're coming from the freelancer space. Somebody who wants to then kind of learn how to grow their practice, to then build better client feedback loops, manage projects at scale, build out a team, build long-term relationships with your clients, put together support plans, a support team. Like I said, there's a lot of studio and agency kind of related content in here that can get you going. And lastly, seasoned agency founders. What I mean by that is someone who's been in the game for a while, maybe 5 years plus. I think this could benefit from you greatly. As somebody who's been in the game for a little minute, I don't really think I'm that. It's only what, 5 years? So not that long, but long enough to know a lot of the stuff in here already and have applied a lot of it already. But I do think it serves as a great refresher. There's a lots of little bits and pieces in here that I got a new perspective on. So regardless, you can benefit from it. Check it out. Lastly, who it's not for. Probably somebody who isn't using Webflow. Like I mentioned earlier, there's too many Webflow specific chapters. And usually I think it's best to then have a book where you can connect the dots. I think I mentioned that earlier, but yeah, anyone who isn't using Webflow, if you're doing like an AI agency or something else, maybe if you're in the same space of design and development, you can probably pick up some things in here. But there's just a lot of Webflow specific content. So just keep that in mind. Lastly, let's talk about quotes and quick tips from the book. So these things kind of float around the value proposition idea, right? Just some things that felt strong to me and they stand out. So the first one is when you're diversifying and differentiating yourself with Webflow, putting together a solid and compelling answer to why we should work with you is really valuable. And also using your services, your knowledge, and tools to support that why also kind of helps you put together a more compelling why. And speaking on tools, the tools support you, not the other way around. Thought that was a gem just because oftentimes you'll see everyone talking about being a Webflow expert. You'll see people positioning themselves solely with Webflow by saying we build Webflow sites or something like that, or just making the business just feel like it's all about the tool and not about you and what you provide. You want to be able to provide value on the outside of that in terms of your design work, your development work, your specific knowledge that you bring to the table. And lastly, I just talked about it briefly, but if you're going to niche down, pick a few sectors that make sense and continue to bring opportunity. People sometimes think that niching down is really specific to one and only one industry, but really you can target a bunch of different sectors. It's usually best when you pick sectors that parallel with each other. So if you're going to help real estate businesses, anyone in the hospitality space, usually those are connected too as well. So those few industries that are connected with each other, once one of those ebb and flow and the business slows down in one, you can still have opportunity to create more business when the other ones kind of fluctuate too. They talk about that too in a larger chapter. So that's just something to think about. Also, some quick negotiation tips that stuck out to me too. I think the biggest one here is spell out the impact. I know that a lot of us probably experience this, but some clients just don't understand how there's cause and there's effect. So they don't usually understand how one change affects the rest of the project. And you kind of need to spell that out, right? Just saying yes just because you just want to just get it over with and close. So just keep in mind too that a lot of times when you're negotiating, it's about a compromise and a middle ground. It's not necessarily about just winning the project, but you also have to benefit from it too. Last one, I don't want to talk about all of them, but the last one is trade a win for a win, right? So if you're going to give up something, try to use that as leverage to get what you actually want. I'm just going to say this. I'm never going to give a discount, but let's use an example. Your client wants a discount for 5% and you have a deadline that you're not too happy about. Let's say it's too short and the client wants a discount on top of that deadline being too short. You can say, okay, we can give you a discount, but I also want the deadline to be pushed out by another 2 weeks. So there's kind of a push and pull there. But like I said, it's not really about winning. It's about getting to a neutral space where both of you feel comfortable and the client feels heard. So some of my final thoughts, I think all in all, growing a service business with Webflow, it just felt like a much needed conversation with someone who's been through it all. If you're serious about building a design business, not just freelancing, but actually turning your craft into a systemized, sustainable studio, I think this book's 100% worth your time, to be honest. It's hands on, it's real, there's no fluff, no bullshit. It's going to talk about problems that you're going to actually deal with. And if you're in a weird in between stage where you're no longer solo, you're not quite an agency, you're just starting to kind of build up a little bit, this book also is going to be exactly what you need or what you didn't know that you needed. Keep what works, toss what doesn't. I would love to hear your thoughts on my review or if you've read it before and you want to drop your thoughts on the book, I would love to hear it. Leave a comment, shoot me a DM. And if I compelled you to check it out, or if you just have any thoughts about Webflow or in itself, just, drop a comment on that as well. Thank y'all. I appreciate y'all for watching, and take care.